Okay, everyone, we're going to wait a minute and let people hop on. And then we'll get started.
Okay.
If you just hopped on, we're just waiting 1 minute to let everyone who registered sign in, get settled, and then we'll begin. Okay, it's that 1 minute mark. Welcome everyone. My name is Caitlin with Plano Public Library, and I want to thank you all for joining us for today's program. Please note that if you have any questions during this program, you can type them into the chat, which is in the lower right corner of your screen. You may need to click on the Zoom panel to open the chat function. Feel free to do so at any time. My chat moderator, Hima, will be monitoring the chat to assist you with any issues and bring questions to my attention. If you're having any technical issues, we have Sabrina online as well to help make sure that everything is functioning. We will also be sure to leave time for questions about the program at the end, but please do not hesitate to type it in the chat at any time. So some housekeeping reminders that we would like to share with everyone. Please note that this program is being recorded and will be made available on the Plano Public Library YouTube page for later viewing. And please note that soliciting business or selling merchandise during a library virtual program is prohibited. Please show respect for everyone and another throughout this program. All right, so with that taken care of, let's get started. So welcome to Adobe Acrobat PDF Basics. And again, my name is Caitlin, and we will be diving right in. So first and foremost, what is a PDF? Well, PDF actually stands for a portable document format, PDF, and it was developed by Adobe in 1992 to share text and graphic documents independently from software, hardware, or specific operating systems. PDFs are now an open standard, meaning it is maintained by the International Organization for Standardization, also known as the ISO, and it can contain links, buttons, and form fields, audio, video, and business logic. These documents are now capable of digital signatures and can be opened in the free Adobe Acrobat Reader software. Now, there are also special standards of PDF files such as PDF-A for archiving, PDF-E for engineering, PDF-X for printing, and PDFs for accessibility needs. And these are all, again, an open source format now. And this was officially, I want to say that it achieved that status shortly after it was created because it is independently shareable. So next, what is Adobe Acrobat? So Adobe Acrobat is a group of application software and web services created to view, create, manipulate, print, and manage portable document format files. This grouping includes Acrobat Reader, Acrobat DC, and Acrobat.com. Now, what are the differences between the three, and why do I mention all of them? Adobe Acrobat Reader is the free version from Adobe that allows anyone to download and use to view PDF documents. It allows for searching documents, adding comments, completing form fields, and digitally signing documents. Now, you have Adobe Acrobat DC, which is the paid version from Adobe that allows for extra features such as creating and editing PDFs, adding multimedia elements, adding form fields, and adding interactive elements. The DC stands for Document Cloud. And Acrobat for web browser, it's the web browser view. Acrobat has a free plugin for web browsers, which in many cases enables a default read mode for opening a PDF file. Internet preferences for displaying PDFs include display and read mode by default, which displays the PDF file without the menus, panels, or visible toolbars, as well as allow fast web view, which allows for a page at a time downloading. So with that introduction, what is the best option for using Acrobat? And it completely depends on the user needs. And some examples to help you figure that out is if you just need to view a PDF, if you need to complete a form, if you need to digitally sign a document, edit a form, save your information, prepare a form, or even create a PDF, all of those factors will help you figure out the best option for using one of those three to accomplish what you need to do. PDFs are now really a part of everyday life. We use them to sign forms, for electronic signatures, for legal documents, for loan information, for school information. Sometimes you simply need to read a PDF that someone has sent to you. And all of these things mean that PDFs are now a part of everyday life. So how do you figure out which one is the best one for you, and how do you use the application once you've figured that out? Well, that's what we're going to figure out today. So today, with our demonstration goals, we are going to have a workspace overview of the Acrobat applications. We are going to go over opening a PDF from email, from the file manager, and from the Adobe Acrobat application. And we are also going to go over how to fill out an Acrobat form, how to make basic edits, how to fill and sign, how to save, and how to export. Now, before we jump into everything, do we have any questions?
There are no questions so far.
Okie doke. Now, remember, again, at any time, feel free to type those questions in the chat. I am more than happy to pause and repeat or go over any information again. So I'm going to pause my share so I can share our next screen so that we can go over our workspace. Okay. I'm going to try that again. Okay. Do you see the PDF application okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So when you open Adobe Acrobat, this is the Pro DC. So this is the editable option. Just to go over your workspace, when you open it, you should see at the very top, Home, Tools, and if you don't have a document open, you would see here, Documents. So Home is the gateway landing page when a PDF is not opened in Acrobat. So for instance, by clicking Home, I can see all of the recent documents I have. It'll also give you access to your document cloud, other storage, and other features. And if you click Tools, in the editable option, it'll show you all of the tools that you have, which essentially organize your panel over here on the right. So if you wanted to open anything that's not here, you could click Add, and it would appear in this right-hand panel. And it is separated by topic. So create and edit, forms and signatures, share and review, protect and standardize, and customize. Now, honestly, unless you're doing something very specific, you most likely will not need all of these tools. The ones that I will highlight are going to be the forms and signatures, so fill and sign. PrePair Form if you are making any edits to a PDF where you're sending it out. It's also something you can use to convert Word and Excel or scanned forms to automatically create a PDF form. And I would say you might use organize pages or edit PDF or export PDF most often. And luckily for us, for the most part, those are available already by default in the right-hand panel. Now, when you have documents open, so by going back to this untitled page here for a blank page, this is a default option when you open a PDF file in Acrobat. When you have multiple PDFs opened, up here at the top, you should see tabs for multiple PDFs. Now, what happens when you open a PDF in the variety of ways that I mentioned earlier? So if you are opening a PDF from an email, which I will demonstrate, let me pull that up and switch screen. Sorry, guys, it's taking one moment. Okay, I'm going to pause this share again. Okay, so when you are opening a PDF from your email, you want to make sure that you see the attachment. And if you just click the open, it should open in browser like this. When you open a PDF in browser, by default, most of the times this is going to be read only. So you can see that this is a preview within my email. And if you download it and click to open, it's going to default to within your browser. Did it switch to open that new tab?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So this option is great if all you need to do is read the PDF that someone has sent to you to confirm information. As you can see here, this is the handout for this class. So it's pretty standard. You can go through. If there's any links in a PDF you're viewing in browser, it should go ahead and open to those links. So interactive elements in a PDF in browser will work just fine. However, if you need to make any edits, if you need to save information, say it's a form, then this is probably not the best option. And that is simply because they're currently with the web view, reader view, unless you have a premium subscription with Adobe, it will not save your information that you type into a PDF form. So the web view, again, it's great for pulling up a form. It's great for accessing links embedded in a form. But if you need to fill and sign a PDF, then you really want to make sure that when you download this, and here's another trick, when you download this, you can actually, in most cases, it's going to go directly to your download folder, or you can specify another folder to access this. Now, if you do download this, there should always be an arrow or more options available in your browser for viewing. If you click that arrow, you can select open, which will default to your browser. You can open with System Viewer, and that's going to be whatever you have specified in your computer operating system as your preference, or you can actually click Show in Folder. I prefer to view in folder so that you can open it with Adobe Acrobat a little bit easier. You don't have to figure out, oh, where did it go to? Because you may have switched your default download option. So just in case you're ever worried about finding the PDF once you've downloaded it, I recommend just always clicking Show in Folder. And that actually takes us to our next option, which is opening from the file manager. So when you have, when you're going to open a PDF from your file manager, so this could be something in your downloads, this could be something you've saved to another folder. Let me again stop sharing so that I can share the right application again. Okay. Sorry for this, guys. It'll just be one moment, I promise. Okay. Right, so your file manager typically lives, if you have a Windows computer, you should see a file icon at the bottom of your menu next to the start menu. Sometimes you have a few other options before it, but you should see a file icon on the bottom of your screen. That is one of the easiest ways to open your file manager. On a Mac, you should have a similar system that you access from your operating bar. Forget the official tool name for that. But regardless, when you have your file manager open and you see it listed right there, by right-clicking it, you can see it pops up with default options for open with Adobe Acrobat Reader DC and edit with Adobe Acrobat's listed. Other editable options are listed underneath. But if you go further, you can see open with. Now with open with, you see the two different versions of Acrobat. What we want is not Reader DC, we want Adobe Acrobat DC. And this is just because we're going to go ahead and make the assumption that you are going to make some sort of edits with this. Now, again, if you just need to read it, you are welcome to download the free version of Adobe Acrobat Reader. It is a free download, and it does allow you some basic capabilities like the fill and sign. But if you're needing to make major edits, then just opening the basic Adobe Acrobat should be fine. With the Plano Public Library, you do have full access to the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. With your library card, all 5 locations do have an Adobe computer that have the full suite loaded onto it. We also have 2 locations, Par and Haggard, that have the full suite available. You can actually book it for up to 2 hours. So in case you can't, you don't have the Adobe Creative Suite, you don't need to worry about that. You are welcome to use our devices. So we're going to open this up in Adobe Acrobat DC. And as you can see, once I switch my screen again, it is now opened in Adobe Acrobat Pro DC. So when you're opening a PDF from the Acrobat application, all you would do is go to File and Open, and it pulls up, again, a miniature version of that file manager. And you can specify the same way, open with, but because you have the actual application open, you should just double click. And there you are. It creates, again, a multiple tab. So it should be fairly simple to see and view. So next, what I want to go through, unless there's any questions on accessing a PDF or the best version of Acrobat to use for the type of PDF you're opening, feel free to let us know.
We do not have any questions so far.
Okay. All right, then we are going to, I'm going to switch to my other example. So let's say that you have a PDF form to fill out. So we are in the Acrobat application. So a form typically will have fields like this that are purple and highlighted. It may look purple, it may look gray, sometimes it looks blue, depending on your screen, but PDF forms that require input of information should be editable without issues in Adobe Acrobat. Now, if you are using Reader, you should still be able to input your information and actually save it, unless whoever has sent it to you has restricted editing. However, fillable forms, you can tell that they're editable by this purplish gray field. So when you are typing in your information, so my name is Caitlin, and, or we'll just do Jane Doe, and entering any information in these lines. So they normally are tabbable fields, so you should be able to click on any of them, and they do change color slightly when you have them filled out. And sometimes they have drop down form fields like this, where you can indicate more information. This is just a free form example I found online to indicate information. Sometimes they have checkboxes like this. And again, lots of options. Now, if you have completed your form and you want to save your information, that's where you click either this floppy disk up here in the left-hand corner, or you go to File and Save As. And you can choose the save location. And this will default it to saving as a PDF. Now, if for some reason you have a filled out PDF that you then need to make basic edits to it for some reason, then you would open it. You should be able to open it and edit it and save it again whenever necessary. So basic edits can require, excuse me, basic edits are going to mean that you need Acrobat Pro opened, not Acrobat Reader. So if, for instance, I was the creator of this form and I needed to make some different edits, I would go over here to Edit PDF. And as you can see, there's actual bounding boxes around the form. So bounding boxes are those dotted lines around the elements. But you'll notice it's not the fillable forms. So it's anything text-based. So if, for instance, you were collaborating on a PDF and you noticed a typo, you could go in and edit the text. And this should be the same common tools like in Microsoft Word, where you can switch up the font format, you can change the size, you can change the color, you can make something centered if you wanted it centered. That's all something that you have available by clicking Edit PDF. Now, to actually change these purple elements, if for instance you didn't want these purple boxes touching, that is actually when you would use the PrePair Form option here. And then those fields are actually highlighted. Now, if you're filling out an official document from someone else, the likelihood is that you will not need to use these tools. Now, if you do need to add something in, you can. So just to go over that, so with PrePair Form at the top, you have your standard black arrow, you have the option to edit text and images, you have your add text button, you have your add a text field, and these are actually all of those editable options that you see below. This check mark here, that's for adding more checkbox options. So if, for instance, you needed another option below, that's what you would click to add in. You can add in radio buttons, which is a mutually exclusive option. So if you need a yes or no answer, you could input a radio button for that option. And if you wanted to add a list of choices, this is something that is a drop-down, but a drop-down list is actually something separate. So the difference between these two options is one is scrollable. You don't necessarily see it as a drop-down. It's not a view all at once list, if that makes sense. After that drop-down list, you can also add in a button. The option listed here is add print or clear, but you can also use it as something like a submission button where you link a hyperlink so that you direct them to wherever they need to upload the form, for instance. If you need to add an image or an upload button, you can use this picture here. If you wanted to add a date field, it has this option to auto create a date field. So it's very convenient. And this second to last option is adding a signature field. Now, this is really great that it's built into the Acrobat software because it'll link directly to that fill and sign option. So we're going to get into this in a little bit, but adding a digital signature is something you can do in Acrobat Reader, and there's a couple different options for this tool, but I wanted to make sure I highlighted that that is something you can add in if you find for some reason you need to add that to a PDF that you have access to. There is also a barcode field, but I don't see that as it's not highly used. Is there a question in the chat?
Well, the question was, can you add something outside of the fillable boxes? I think that's what we're addressing.
Yes, that's a great question. So if you need to add something outside of the given space, I think that's what you're asking. So if you need to add something outside of the fillable space, I would recommend doing so in the Edit PDF button. So when you click that, you have the text fields, and you can add text outside of it by selecting this option up here. And that essentially lets you click and draw and add format first last name. Does that answer the question? So if you need to add something outside of these fields, and this is another good thing to show, if you ever do use these tools and you're clicking anywhere, you're going to just type anywhere you click on. That tool is enabled. So if you don't need it once you're done with creating your text box or wherever you're typing, the best thing to do is to remember to go up here and click close or switch tools again. That way you go back to your default black arrow. You can also make sure that, again, if you click add text, you can also just click this black arrow at the very top and it will automatically close out of that option. So I see in the chat, yes, if you need to add notes, another option is over here on the side is comment. So I mentioned earlier that in Adobe Reader, you also have the option to add comments. So by enabling comments here and opening that panel, you can actually open all the tools to kind of highlight where you have a comment about. So if you had a comment about something that's listed, you would just indicate with that bubble, that kind of chat bubble icon to open, and then you can type whatever message you need to add. So in case it doesn't need something directly added to your document, this is another great way to indicate feedback or additional information. And clicking post attaches that to the PDF. You can also, as indicated here, you can also, in some cases, at whoever's in your contact list, you can add people in that are in your organization. So I hope that answers your question. That's a great question. Do we have any more questions about adding comments or extra notes to a PDF?
No questions so far.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to move on. So we've kind of covered so far editing a PDF. So again, seeing those different bounding boxes, using the tools at the top to make edits directly to things already on the PDF, adding text. You can add in images. You can also add in links. You can also directly crop your pages. And there's more options as well, like if you ever needed to add a watermark or background or any kind of page numbering. Now, and again, for the direct editable fields, that's where PrePair Form kind of comes in. So that's just a quick rehash. Now, what I want to go over next is how to fill and sign a document. So as you can see, that's actually not something on this form. So what I'm going to do real quick is actually click that add digital signature, and I'm going to add it below. So you can see that's what it looks like. Whenever you add a field to your PDF, it'll ask that you name it. Over here on the right in this panel, you can see every field has a name. And if you've worked in any other Adobe product, you can tell that this sort of acts like a layer panel. So everything listed here is in the order it is on the page, and it's kind of, it shows you what's on top and what's on bottom. So again, if you've worked in Photoshop or InDesign or any other Adobe software, this fields tool right here operates in that manner. It's a good comparison. So once you have this created, I think signature 1 works just fine for the purpose of what we're doing. You want to close out. And now you'll find that this is a interactive form. And when you click it, it pops up with this digital ID configuration required. So it says this signature field requires a digital signature identity. Would you like to configure one now? So this is what pops up when you don't have anything pre-saved. Now, let's cancel for a moment and actually go to fill and sign. Let's open this panel and you'll see that everything kind of enlarges a little bit, but also you can see at the top, it's trying to tell me, sign your form, use the sign tool to quickly add your signature or initials. If you click through, it'll give you more examples within your document of, oh, look, see, these are fillable. But your option at the top, you have sign yourself. So if you click this, you can see signatures. This is a default example that they have. You can minus that to make it go away. But if you click sign yourself and you click that option for add signature or add initials, which again, PDFs often require both, you can sign yourself. So you can type and it'll create various style. If you don't like the style, you can change it up. But if that doesn't work or you need something that is very clearly your signature, you can attempt to draw it with your mouse, or if you have any kind of device that's touchscreen enabled, you can draw it with your finger. So for instance, me with a mouse is not great. If at first you don't succeed, you can hit clear and try again. Slow and steady wins the race. Woo, look at that. So it is possible to create a digital signature. However, what I find often works best is actually to upload an image. So if you have the capability to sign a piece of paper real quick and take a picture with your phone, or take a picture with your phone, email it to yourself, download it to the device you're using, you can actually upload your image here and it will autofill that. It'll go ahead and take care of the background, everything for you, and just pull the signature. Now, when you have that loaded, or if you do draw or type, you can simply click apply and you can apply that directly to the field. So it does like to pop up with that save message. That completely depends on the settings of the PDF that the user has created to send to you. Oftentimes you can change it up. So do we have any questions about applying a signature to a document or using that fill and sign feature? You can also change.
We don't have any questions so far.
Thank you for letting me know. You can change the color of your pen. If for some reason you need a red ink, for instance, that's something you can use. But it's a very common occurrence nowadays to need to sign a PDF. So those are the three methods in which you can sign your document digitally. So once you have that filled out, you have it signed. How do you save? So I touched on that briefly earlier, saving file by clicking that floppy disk or going to file and save as. Now we also have that option to save as other, which kind of goes over these options for a reduced size PDF. So if, for instance, someone sends you a PDF form that is, I would say anything over anything over certain certain size will require compressing to submit, usually via email. If you have to email something back, I would recommend compressing your file. I'll go over that in a little bit more depth later. But to continue the options for Save as Other, a certified PDF, which is something where it's essentially specialized. It's a certified PDF. It's like having something notarized, for instance. Now you have a reader extended PDF, which is that accessible option. You have your optimized PDF. Again, it's just going to be optimized for the best performance. If you work in any specific industry, like something that is archivable, digital archives are becoming more common. This is something they do for a lot of online material. Press ready, so anything that goes to a printer may be formatted in this X format for printing, and PDF-E for engineering for specific files and their uses. That's where you would go to get that specific file type. Now, let's say that you have saved this and you find that for some reason, the person on the other end needs it in a different format. That's where you can export it. So you can either Control E in most cases is your option to use your keyboard shortcuts to export, or you can go up here and export to. And your default options, the first one is Microsoft Word, and they do allow for old compatibility for the 97 to 2003 format, or just the in general Word document format. It is good to know that Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, or even images, all of those formats that you use, even though they're Microsoft specific, can also be opened by free suites such as the Google Suite, Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google PowerPoints. So if someone needs a different accessible option for editing and they don't have access to Acrobat DC, you can always convert your work to one of these formats to make it still accessible. In general, if it's a form, I would just recommend Microsoft Word, or trying to make edits in PDF and send it to them for very minor edits, because sometimes the export doesn't go quite as you would like, but I would say the Microsoft Word is pretty reliable. Spreadsheet is for good table information. And for a PowerPoint presentation, it typically takes your pages and converts it to a slide format. So of course you can convert it as a JPEG or a PNG file, image files. You can convert it to a web page or rich text format. The other options are really not used very often unless you're in a specific field. So I will not get too in depth with that. Now, it is important to note that if you do save as, you can, once you select a folder, when you go to that drop down for save as type, everything that we just went over is available right there. So if, for instance, you just wanted to save it again, you just need to go to save as, and you can export your file to another type in that way. I hope that makes sense. So now we're going to go back to compressing a PDF file. So to show you this, what I'm going to do is actually show you another tool. So let's say that you have a few PDFs that were sent to you, but you actually need to combine your files because they actually, it's all going to the same person, or they're pieces of a project that you were all working on. So if you click this Combine Files tool, which it may look different on your version of Acrobat, you can actually add files. It'll pull up your recent ones. You can do multiple by clicking and holding the Shift key on your computer and clicking open. It'll open all three. And then at the top, you can see the option to add more files, different view options. You can view it as a list. You can view it as icons. If you click something and you're like, oh, I really didn't mean to add that, you can delete it and remove it from the equation. If you go to options, it's going to show you the file size. So this is just the view size. And there are other options for basically if you need to enable accessibility or if you need to delete something after. They're fairly basic and it's most of the time not necessary. But if you click combine, it's going to open up a new file. And when you scroll through, you will see your multiple files all in one document. Now, if you do that and you find that you need to reorganize the pages, this is where you would then go to your Organize Pages tool, which is that green icon with the arrow showing the rearrangement. And just like with that, you'll find on each page you have these rotate symbols. You can actually change the orientation. So if, for instance, you actually scanned something and it's a PDF format and you weren't able to rotate it at the time, never fear. In Acrobat, and this is for the version of Reader or Acrobat Pro DC, you should be able to fix that orientation in this tool. If you need to rearrange something, so if you click those three dots on this option bar that pops up, this is really great for inserting things before or after or copying something. Not necessarily great for rearranging because rearranging is literally, it's not explicit, but it's super simple because you just click and drag. So that's the easiest way to rearrange is literally click and drag pages wherever you need them to be. So you can see you can click and drag things pretty much anywhere out of order. But how does this relate to compressing pages? So that's that tool. You can also see up here, there's more options. So you can actually replace specific pages. You can also split it into more files. So once you've combined a page, if you find, oh, I need to split a larger PDF up, you can split that here by indicating a breakpoint. So we're going to close this and we're going to go to save. And up here, you can select reduce file size. And when you do that, it should automatically compress it so that you do not have that issue of it being too large to attach to your email. Because a lot of emails tend to have a maximum size for uploading. And sometimes PDF files that have multiple pages and graphics embedded in them can actually have a fairly large file size. Do we have any questions? Oh, perfect timing. Yes. What is the question?
Says, will this be available for replay? I had no idea you could do so much with Adobe.
Yes. So this is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel for viewing again. This handout that you see, Adobe Acrobat PDF Basics, which includes most of everything covered in today's class, will also be available on our webpage for downloading. And it's a guide, step-by-step guide for accessing different elements of the Acrobat application. So that is completely available to everyone. to view, to read, and go through as much as necessary. Are there any questions about the Adobe Acrobat application or anything you're curious about that I can answer?
Not yet.
Not a problem. So just to go through a couple other options, if you forget that you can access export to from the file menu, you can also go over here to export PDF and it'll pull up options directly that you saw from the file manager. There's a million and one different ways to do everything in all Adobe products. So if the way that I am showing something in today's class doesn't work for you, there's a million other workarounds. If you ever find that you want to experiment with creating your own PDF from the ground up, as long as you're in the paid version, you can create a PDF and you can start from a ready created file, a Word document that you want to convert to PDF. You can insert multiple files to create a PDF. You can scan in an image. If you have a scanner attached, you can download something from the internet. You can copy and paste something, or you can start from a blank page. If you start from a blank page, it is literally just like that. And it works very similar to Microsoft Word. You would just want to go to the edit PDF and start by adding in your text fields. If you want to add a header and footer, you can add that in. You can add in something from a saved setting. You can set your font sizes. You can change your margin options, and it'll give you a preview of what that looks like. If you ever decide that you want to restrict editing to a document, so that's by clicking this little checkbox at the very bottom, you can actually create a permissions password to a PDF, which is great if you're working on something and you don't want edits to be made to it yet. But it's also, if you do create a password, make sure it's something you can remember, or make sure it's something you are comfortable sharing with others if need be. So cancel that. And within this editing toolbox, I will just say some of my favorite things are if you have multiple text boxes, for instance, all over your page. Once you select multiple fields, if you shift and click multiple, you can actually go to this align tool, and it makes your life a lot easier to just simplify how you align things on your page to get the look that you're wanting. If you want to send a document for review and get those comments that I mentioned earlier, so in addition to having a comment tool, there is a send for comments. And this is something, again, where you can send it to someone via a document cloud, via an email, or again, if someone's in your organization and you want to share it, it's an easy way. If you want to if you're not finding the tool you're looking for, you can go to more tools and you can play around with everything they have. There's that share button. So you can, if you open it, it's share with others, slightly different from the send for comments because you're just sharing it. You can protect it. This is adding in security, so it's adding in that password. You can redact certain parts. It's kind of fun. If you ever need to create a prop for a spy film, this is kind of a fun tool. It's kind of fun just to go through and click things. Accessibility is fun because you can set up those auto tag features. You can do an accessibility check. it'll give you an accessibility report for how accessible your PDF is. So it's a very powerful tool. I hope that this has helped you feel more comfortable using it. Are there any other Acrobat Pro questions?
We don't have any questions.
Okie doke. Then I'm going to take us back to our PowerPoint to share our upcoming programs that we have. So next week, we have a Grow Your Business with Adobe CC and InDesign Create a Flyer program. It is also virtual. It's on Sunday. We have a GIMP colorization class. We have another Grow Your Business with Adobe CC, this one focusing on Photoshop and social media creation. And we are having a Blender, which is a 3D design software basics class, and this will be in person at Haggard on June 11th. So thank you all for joining us. Again, if you have any questions at any time, do not hesitate to let us know. We highly encourage you to fill out our survey that is available. It should auto pop up in your browser after this program ends. You can let us know more things that you'd like to learn about or see from the library, or if you have any feedback, please do share. All feedback is appreciated. Thank you for your questions. And again, we hope that you got something out of today's class. Thank you both. I appreciate it. You guys were great.
No problem.
Thank you, Caitlin. You were wonderful.
I think I could have done without some us, and I had to take a moment to remember to breathe. So, but thank you both. I appreciate you. And I hope you guys have a great evening.
You too.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks. Oh gosh, I forgot you're on speaker.
Told you you're on speaker.
Oh, I
Didn't I
forgot.
tell you right in the beginning?
You did. I'm so glad I forgot that fact. Y'all are awesome. Love you at Haggard. Have a great evening.
Where's my thing got messed up, but yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate your help.
you.
All right. Talk to y'all
Okay.
later. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.